Wait, the new Demon Slayer game is about to drop, and I'm gonna be honest, on the surface, it looks like everything that we've ever wanted. You know, we got more arcs, more characters, more battles, but there is one big issue that nobody's really talking about, because Hinokami Chronicles 2 isn't just a sequel. What if I told you we've already played through it? Yes, we're finally getting full playable arcs from the Entertainment District, you know, Swordsmith Village, and the new Hashira training chapters. But, you know, if you look closer, you'll see some of this content, it's already existed as DLC. So the question becomes, is this really a new game, or is it just a flashier version of what we've already paid for? But, you know, before we call it a cash grab, we need to look at what's actually new, because this isn't just a story update. There are huge changes under the hood. So here's what's actually new, right? In Hinokami Chronicles 2, you know, it kind of brings in dual ultimates, a brand new mechanic that lets two characters team up for a cinematic tag team finisher. Think of like Naruto Storm style synergy, but now with character specific bonds that kind of change the outcome depending on who you pair with. And I mean, it's not just flashy, you know, each ultimate has layered animations and kind of subtle changes depending on the story arc you're in. You know, if you run, you know, Tanjiro and Nezuko, you might get something emotional. You know, you run, you know, Tengen and Rengoku, you better expect pure fireworks. But here's where the pressure builds. For the first time, all 9 Hashira are playable, and that means we finally get to control characters like Obanai and you know, Senemi, two of the most anticipated swordsmen in the franchise. Each one has a completely unique kit. And then let me explain, right? You know, you got Tengen uses rhythm and timing to chain explosive combos, while Muichiro blurs across the battlefield with mist-based speed chains, right? Mitsuri, you know, has whip range and counter mechanics that reward perfect reads. And the question is, can these new mechanics carry the game, or are they just here to cover up, you know, for the reused content? You know, this is a pretty big question. So let's first talk about the story. Yes, you know, the arcs are familiar, you know, the Entertainment District, Swordsmith Village, Hashira training, but it's how they're told that's raising eyebrows, right? Because this time the devs aren't just recreating scenes from the anime. They're layering in extra cutscenes, you know, subtle character moments and new interactions that weren't in the show. There's even unused dialogue from the manga being woven in. And fans are starting to notice something strange. Some of these new scenes, they hint at things that haven't even happened yet, like a flash of purple lightning in the sky during the Senemi's intro, right? Or Muzan standing beneath the castle before it ever shows up in the plot. Or even Genya hearing voices that don't match any of the known characters, which leads to one of the biggest fan theories right now. What if this game is setting up the Infinity Castle arc before the anime drops, right? I mean, it would be a genius move, you know, drop the story pieces early, build hype, and keep players locked in before the trilogy of films coming next, right? But, you know, if this is true, why hold back so much, right? Why hold so much content for the next game? And, you know, that brings us back to the core issue. You know, is this sequel building towards something great, or just stretching content to sell you the next one, right? I mean, here's the part that keeps me up, right? We know the Infinity Castle is coming. We know the trilogy films are planned. We know this franchise is about to go nuclear, right? So why does this game feel like it's holding back? Right? What if Hinokami Chronicles 2 is just a setup? A pretty distraction before the real storm hits. Think about it, right? Because if those teaser scenes are more than just Easter eggs, if this game really is hiding, you know, future canon right in front of us, then players who skip it might actually miss key pieces of the final arc. But if it's all just rehash, then we're being sold nostalgia at full price, while the real content sits in the shadows, waiting to drop as DLC, or worse. And, you know, Hinokami 3, that would suck. So I'll ask you this, is Hinokami Chronicles 2 the start of something massive, or just a flashy buffer between the anime and the movie trilogy? And you drop your theory in the comments below, because if the Infinity Castle is already cracking open, then this game might be more important than anyone realized. See you guys in the next one. Peace.